Hi guys, welcome to this audio recording. So I want to talk about Neptune in the 10th house in the natal chart and how that can show up in a person's life and what it symbolizes. So the 10th house has a lot to do with our public image, our career, sort of how we're seen in the public eye. It's sort of like the highest point of the chart. It's sort of like the highest house, so to speak. And so it has a lot to do with our outer world experiences and how we come across in the outer world and in the public eye, and a lot of times it kind of have to do with career and job, and because a lot of the times that is how we express, or how our public image is expressed is often through our job or through our careers. So there's that. And Neptune is a planet that is highly intuitive, takes in a lot of intuitive data from sources that are sort of not seen. It's more fluid, it's more sort of watery. It can be very creative, it can be very compassionate and empathetic, but it can also be sort of vague and muddled up and difficult to understand by the person themselves or by other people. Like the Neptunian qualities of you can be hard for you to understand and for other people around you to understand about you. So it can be a very compassionate, intuitive planet, but also one that kind of dissolves the boundaries for better or worse. So it also has to do with like alcohol and anything that kind of takes our um, uh, takes us somewhere like to another realm almost. So it dissolves boundaries and makes things more hazy and sort of blurs the lines. And so when you have Neptune in the 10th house in the natal chart, I suppose especially in early life, that can express itself in a way where the person is sort of unsure what to do with their life, and they don't necessarily have a firm idea of what it is that they're here to do and what they want to do and what they want to accomplish in life. They may be unsure about what career they're interested in or what job they're interested in. They don't have a firm idea of those sorts of things, especially early in life. So that can also be connected to the way that they can be sort of seen as vague or slightly unusual or sort of checked out, or just sort of you know like vague and hard to read, hard to figure out in the public eye, because they don't have that firm sense of who they are. They don't have that firm sense inside themselves, and like they don't have necessarily a firm sense of what they want to do or what they're here to do, what they want to accomplish, what career they want. And so that can come across as, somebody who sort of comes across a little bit maybe aimless, comes across a little bit vague and hard to read. They don't have a concreteness to their outer persona. But the positive side of Neptune in the 10th house can be that, the person, because Neptune has also to do with compassion and intuitive guidance and spirituality and music and art and things like that, ways that we get into more beautiful spiritual realms. So music and art can sort of elevate our consciousness, elevate our feelings. We kind of want to escape sometimes, and music and art is a way for us to sort of escape. And so I think with a person with a Neptune in the 10th house can also find success or satisfaction in carving a path where they become an artist or a musician or an intuitive guide of some sort, or getting in touch with their own spirituality. It can be someone who ends up having a very spiritual path. So that can be something that they're known for in the public eye, especially later in life, that they are spiritual and maybe they're guiding others through spirituality. Maybe they're, um, you know, using their compassion, using their intuition, using their intuitive insight, and the ways that they get sort of signals from some other realm, they can use that to help people. Neptune is very compassionate and wants to sort of there's like on one level of expression, Neptune sort of has like a lack of boundaries. There's a blurring of boundaries between the self and the other. And so that can express itself in a very positive way when it comes to compassion and empathy. And so I think Neptune in the 10th house can signify somebody that, if early in life they're sort of unsure about what to do, they don't know what career path to go towards because they don't necessarily have a firm sense of like what they're here to do. They don't, they were born with some kind of spiritual or karmic lesson when it comes to not having a firm sense of that early in life, especially. But later in life, they may find that, they are leaning towards the spiritual practices, or they want to help others, to guide others, to use their empathy, their compassion, to kind of lead others, or to help others, to guide others, to inspire others, and to bring them to those other realms. So that can be something that they can actually succeed in later in life, and they can become a guide of some sort. Because that Neptune in the 10th house is sort of supporting that. And a lot of the 10th house themes can often kind of kick in stronger later on in life, because it has to do with our career and our sort of our public image that we're sort of cultivating. And so early in life, those people with Neptune in the 10th house can be unsure what to do, but later in life it may become clear that maybe you should be an intuitive guide of some kind, or to help others in their spiritual path in some way, because you might be on a spiritual path, and so you can use that to guide others. It can also be somebody who ends up being a musician or an artist of some kind. Again, being inspired to bring people to like different states of consciousness and different realms. So we can get lost in music, we can get lost in art and theater. And so Neptune in the 10th house person can be, in the public eye, can be somebody who is involved in those kinds of things like art, music, theater. And so that can actually be their path. So if you're kind of, if you have Neptune in the 10th house and you're kind of not sure what to do with your life, I think get in touch with that spiritual side and that inner voice that wants to elevate yourself and wants to elevate other people into other states of consciousness and other realms, and take inspiration from that. And maybe you can get involved in some kind of music or art or theater or something like that, and then that will become your path. And it also takes care of this idea that you're kind of vague in the public eye, or people are kind of finding you hard to read, or they don't really know what you're all about. But once you have you've carved out some kind of path, which may be a more sort of spiritual or sort of fluid, vague sort of path, but it's still a path. And so then people will kind of start to make sense of you a little bit more, like, okay, that person is an artist, or that person is a musician, or that person, helps elevate people's consciousness, or bring them to other realms, or brings beauty to them, and is very compassionate and empathetic. So there's that. So Neptune in the 10th house can be a confusing placement for the person who has it, because of their sort of vague idea of like how they're seen and how they want to be seen. And there's like maybe also a vague understanding of like the more concrete realities when it comes to like how things are done in the external world, when it comes to like sort of like hierarchies, or sort of like how people carve a career path. This is something that the Neptune in the 10th house native can find it difficult to incorporate into their lives, or to really understand. So they may not really understand or be in touch with, especially early in life, like how people carve a specific path. So their path may be a little bit more, may take more twists and turns, be more vague, less straightforward. Maybe the job that they end up having is a little bit less straightforward. It's not necessarily something that everybody knows about, or it's not necessarily something that everybody understands. But we all have our own path, and the Neptune in the 10th house person just may find it a little bit more difficult to concretely, uh, like, carve out the steps for their path. And then once they are on their path, they may actually end up having sort of a vague, sort of harder to understand sort of job or career or path. So, but that's nothing to like be ashamed of or to be scared of, because we do have our own contributions that we make to the world. And so even if your job or your career is something that people don't necessarily understand, it has still to do with your own personal like evolution, your own psychological and emotional and spiritual evolution. And so if you can use that to sort of guide others, the right people will come along and the right people will get it, and the people that don't need to get it, they don't have to get it, if that makes sense. So I hope this was interesting, and I hope it was insightful and helpful, informative in some way. If you'd like a personal astrology or tarot reading, please email me at mattothinks@gmail.com. Thank you so much.